Welcome to another episode of the Iron H Show. We're talking about geek culture, news and lifestyle. We got a little bit of a different episode today.
Yeah, well, I'm excited about this one because we spoke about it quite some time ago, and it's something that I've been wanting to sort of do, an episode that I wanted to do because it's pretty cool. Well, I mean, I think you can probably spot it out by now.
You've been to my place a few times, and almost every time it's any new toys or anything. So I guess today we'll give you a little bit of an insight into my one of my big passions, and that is the Transformers.
Right. So Transformers toys, especially, is what we're going to be talking about this time around. A couple of things that some of you out there might already know, some of you might not know. And hey, I didn't know about a lot of this sort of stuff.
And I guess how this came around is that you saw a few things, and you thought, well, they look kind of weird. Like, well, why don't you see this at the stores, right?
Yeah. So I mean, look, I think initially, first when I met you initially, I said initially twice. I knew about, for example, the Transformers masterpieces, the Takara masterpieces Transformers figures. And
really high-end stuff.
Yeah, and those were engineered really well. The figures were almost like not figures for kids. It's more so like
they're definitely not for kids. Yeah.
So
they look like the cartoons. They transform. They look like what they're supposed to be. Yeah. They pose. They do almost
really well. I mean, I personally would not go out of my way to buy a normal Transformers figure, to be honest with you, unless it was really that good. Like the vinyl tech figures. Whether you can call them normal or not, I mean, I think the Western market calls them alternators, but Vinyl Tech being the original Japanese version, I believe. Then obviously the masterpieces, which Hasbro brought out as well, their versions of it, which doesn't look as nice because the paint jobs on them are not as good.
There's a few,
bits and pieces. Yeah. So anyways, one thing that you explained to me was that there were these third-party companies that created Transformers figures.
Well, and we say third parties, and we always do the speech, those signs, because I guess by right they are infringing on intellectual property which they don't own.
Right.
So you can't exactly look for these things well, you can look for it online, but you have to be, I guess,
you can't buy them. You can't buy them in a retail store, right?
Correct.
You can't just walk into your Toys R Us or Kmart or Target and purchase them.
That's right. And I mean, the one that caught your eye was the one of the the Predacons.
Yeah, well, as a kid, I have always wanted the well, not just the Predacons, Predaking, but even with the aerial bots. Is that what they call them?
The planes, the Autobot planes.
Yeah, I was a big fan of those ones, but this one really led like when you told me this was coming out. I'm waiting for the day that the third-party figure companies release a full pack with all the characters, because let's just explain this a little bit, right? So with the Predacons, is that what they call Predacons?
So these are one of the Transformers where you might remember in the old 80s cartoon, we're taking the Wayback Machine going back to the 80s, there were 5 of them in a team.
Yep.
They would transform from robot to animal or vehicle or whatever. Yeah. In this case, animals.
Animals, yeah.
And then, not only that, but they would combine together to make a giant robot.
Being the Predaking.
Predaking.
Oh man, that was awesome.
He was a fan favorite. I guess he's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, he's a badass.
I've always liked the colours and the beast forms.
It looks freaking crazy, right?
But these sort of things, I guess you were quite stunned to see something which you could move around and do all sorts of poses with them.
Yeah, and this is the great thing about it. I mean, if you take a look at a normal Transformer that's made for kids, they don't have as much joints, articulation points. They're not so well thought out, right? Whereas this one is engineered and thought out so well. I mean, even if you heard Ken sort of clicking on it, the joints have certain clicks so they don't loosen up over time as well, right? That's the whole point behind it.
We call these ratchet joints in the industry.
Oh, look at this guy, Mr. Expert.
Very satisfying. I gotta tell you, when I hear these ratchet joints, it's like, it's just so
I think you might need some
alone
time there, buddy.
Ratchet joints. Listen to the sound of that.
But
beautiful.
How cool is it? And the thing is, the sculpting of the character, the faces, it's so, I mean...
Whoa, hang on. Before you get into that...
What? Come on, I'm clean, man. What are you trying to say? All right. So anyways, the sculpting, the characters of the lions, the robot face, everything, I mean, I don't know if this will autofocus, but have a look at that sort of stuff, or we'll obviously superimpose transforming it. Well, first off, it's done really well. in regards to the shape, the overall shape. I mean, the old school Transformers that I played around with, yes, it's something like this. If you take a look at this, which is what we sort of grew up with, it's literally just that.
It's a glorified brick. Now, this is another combiner, similar to what you're holding.
Yeah, but look at the detail. Even the lion's mouth is like...
This one does... it is a combiner. It is from the 80s, and you can see that we're lucky that we can get the arm to move like that. The legs aren't really going to move.
Now, I believe with this particular... I can't remember what is this combiner called.
So this is our buddy Menasor from the original G1 80s cartoon.
I believe you've got a third-party version of that, right? And that's where it's really cool. And this is where you can note the difference. I'm just going to put this down for now, but you'll be able to note the difference between something like this, which, as you can see, it is literally a brick, to something like this, which is...
where you've got shoulders, you've got
elbows,
joints, you've got knees.
And it's not just a flat elbow joint, it goes all the way through, right? Like you can bend it all the way up.
Yeah, I mean, there are limitations, but I think it's quite incredible that they can engineer something like this. Now, again, one thing we've got to stress is that these aren't kids' toys.
No, definitely not. I mean, look at it.
I would transform this for you, but honestly, I'd have to take out the instructions. I would take a good 10-20 minutes for each piece. These guys, you look at it, and a 5-year-old would know what to do with it.
You just literally pull the bits out, and that's it, right? Yeah.
But I guess
a couple of folds.
It's nice to see that these third-party companies, they're pretty close, aren't they, in terms of the representation of these characters. They've captured the essence of the characters, I think, quite well.
So it gives you that nostalgic feeling, as well as an updated version of it, where you can actually pose them in a particular way, right?
That's right. And on that note, I should also mention that with these third-party figures, they're definitely not for kids. They are a little bit on the pricey side. Just to give you an idea of costs, I guess something like that, all up, would be anywhere from, I don't know, $500 for the whole set.
That's huge. I mean,
and to get it shipped here, obviously.
So you got to pay for shipping because they're all generally, like we said, you cannot go into a retail store and purchase it. You got to buy them online. Secondly, this is a combined. A combiner, so you've got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters. So per character, what would you?
You're looking at about $70 to $80 per limb, and the main character is usually about 110, 100.
Right, which is the bigger, bigger character,
the central component with more parts to it.
Okay, interesting.
But that's not to take away from some of the other licensed things. I mean, I've got some decent examples here.
Who's that?
And once again, the engineering is not too bad. So this is Sandstorm. I don't know what... I think he's still called Sandstorm because there's some big noise about licensing and what names they can use.
Is Sandstorm... was he a triple changer or
something? He was a
back
triple
in the day?
changer,
yeah. So, okay. Sort of is a little bit familiar, but I don't 100% recall it.
But I guess when you look at something like this, you can still see that the engineering is quite good.
It's decent.
The head sculpt is quite nice. You know, he's quite a handsome character there.
Yeah, right. So it's actually not bad. It doesn't have the ratchet joints, though.
No, it's missing... You can get some good click out of that.
All right.
Some good click.
Well, I mean, I guess it's not as bad as what I remember it to be. But...
something like this is in the order of maybe $40, 50 Australian.
So you're saying that the third party is generally double the price, but I mean, even holding on to this, it feels really light. It doesn't feel as what's the word for it? Quality in comparison to. Do you know what I'm saying here?
Yeah. It is lacking a little bit of weight to it. I mean, the original ones had die-cast and everything. That one won't have die-cast. You're looking for rubber wheels, aren't you?
How did you know?
But you can see that even with their third-party takes on the more obscure characters, once again...
Is that a third-party?
This is a third-party interpretation of a character.
See, that one I don't like the look of.
They can be very creative with the... well, this is one of those headmasters. I don't know if you ever remember these, where the heads transform.
And it transforms to a little...
into a little guy, yeah.
Right. Have they ever created a Power Masters version of anything? Do you know what I mean?
They have something similar. Even the third parties have something similar to it as well.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, this is one last thing that I wanted to bring up is... this is the movie version of Shockwave, right?
That's right. With the new movie coming out...
does this actually transform to anything?
It transforms into a little tank sort of thing, which, again, I won't really bother you with.
It looks like a very simplistic transformation, and it's a no-brainer. Like you flip this up, you twist it.
Yeah, I mean, I say it's simple, but I'm not going to embarrass myself. But I wanted to show you, just by comparison, something from the 80s as well. This is the original version of that character.
Shockwave, right.
Yeah, and even though it's from the 80s.
That's so cool. You know, I never actually realized, what? I never realized that they had this
electronics and everything.
Yeah, in toys back in those days.
Well, so you can see that for me, the appeal of these toys, even back then, was very. It was. These are just. This is like candy for me.
That's cool.
It's like cocaine for me. It's these things are just so good, you know. I sleep with these at night sometimes.
Well, anyways, there you go. There you have it. Transformers third party. What sort of websites do you just Google it? Are there different companies that sort of?
There are companies. A lot of them are in Japanese. If you want to buy these things, a lot of the big online retailers should have it.
Like Big Bad Toy Store or something?
Yeah,
like that,
Big Bad Toy Store is probably one of the more recognizable ones.
Okay.
There are others, TF Source, and a few others which I won't, since we're not sponsored by anyone.
But by all means, maybe you guys should think about sponsoring this.
Yeah,
but anyways, but look, Google it. I mean, I know that I'm really keeping an eye out on the Predator King when he comes out. I'm gonna probably order that one for myself. But yeah,
I look forward to that day.
Pretty nifty stuff, man. I mean, it's a collectible. It's not a toy anymore, right? It's on a different league on its own now. So.
I guess unfortunately with the third party ones, it is more in the collector's market. Something like this, I think, is still quite accessible to people. These sort of things, they're quite easy to play with, and they're still very satisfying in their own right. There is a big difference in price, obviously.
It is, but the quality is different as well, right? There's just. To me, anyways,
Yeah, I mean, you're paying maybe 2, 3, sometimes 4 times as much as what you would normally pay for off-the-shelf one, but I think in many ways it is worth the expense.
I think for me, especially, it's the nostalgic feeling of them doing the Gen 1 stuff, recreating it with all the new joints,
new engineering, and reimagining it.
That's what's really cool for me. So. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching. Let us know what you think, or do you guys have third-party figures of your own? Comment on the blog below, and I guess thanks for sticking it out, and we will catch you next time.